I'm a private chef, and this weekend I'm cooking for 10 hunters. This was the day that they arrived, so I was just working on dinner and dessert for tonight. I made a big gallon of sweet tea and then started on my chocolate chip cookies. This was actually my first time cooking at this ranch specifically, and I absolutely fell in love with this little bitty kitchen. I like to get my dessert out of the way first, especially if it's cookies, so that they have time to set up, but also just so that it's out of the way and I don't have to worry about it when I'm also trying to get dinner out. These are just my brown butter chocolate chip cookies. I posted the recipe a few weeks ago. So I stuck some extra chunks of chocolate on each of the cookies and then got those in the fridge to set up. For dinner, I was doing carne guisada rice and beans, as well as some homemade tortillas. So I seared off all my beef in some avocado oil, got it covered in salt, and then started chopping up my veggies. I like to go in with a red and green bell pepper, as well as some onions and garlic. I just give everything a rough small dice before I cook it down in the oil that I seared off my beef in. And as much as I loved all the natural light coming in through the kitchen, it made my videos look super cute, I was absolutely burning up. Between the sun coming in through the windows and the hot oven, it was brutal in there. But at least my videos look good. Once I got all my veggies chopped up, I cooked them down for a little bit. And this was just one of about the 10 times that I burnt myself this weekend. My fingers and arms are covered in blisters, but that is pretty normal now. I added those veggies, some beef stock, as well as some garlic and seasonings to my beef. Got that covered and then got it into the oven. However, famously, I forgot to add my tomato paste. So after that had gone in for like 30 minutes, I had to add that in there. Not happy about that. And then, what do you know, burn myself getting the lid back on. While I let that do its thing in the oven, I got some dishes out of the way. I have had a few people ask about cleanup and stuff like that, but I do all my dinner prep, I set the table, do all the dishes, and clean up afterward. It's definitely a lot of work, but I prefer it this way. The building that I'm cooking in is actually an old church that they transformed, and it is super cool. And if you look real close out the kitchen window, that is Mexico. I put together a little charcuterie board to hold them over until dinner and then got started on my flour tortillas. I got my dough mix together, portioned out my tortillas, and then tossed them in flour. It just makes rolling them out a little bit easier later. And then of course, I roll them out and then get those immediately into a hot skillet. I did post a video on how I make my tortillas a few videos back as well. Once the tortillas were finally out of the way, I had so many to make. I also made some rice and beans. I just did, of course, some Spanish rice as well as some refried beans. Everything turned out super yummy, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.